Hi everyone, welcome to the debate for the VP Education. So welcome candidates, and I'm Shruti. I'll be hosting the debate, today. And so we have Sophie, Ian, Uday, and Charlotte running tonight. So why don't you guys, each of you, introduce yourself, and then I will ask a couple of questions, and then general questions, and then a couple of questions regarding your manifestos. So, Sophie, why don't you start off?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sophie, and I'm a third year Geography and Politics student. And I'm running to be your next Vice President of Education because I want to make sure that the quality and consistency of education across departments and faculties benefits students, and make sure that you all feel supported and included in your education, and make sure you're developing the skills that you need for after university.
Cool. And Ian?
So, hi, I'm Ian. I'm a fourth year physicist and currently undergraduate still because I'm doing an integrated masters. I want to run for VP Education, be the next VP Education, because after 4 years I've realised that the way that modules are run at this university isn't up to scratch. There are so many flaws and so many different programmes, and I think I'm going to work as hard as I can to try and start to eliminate these flaws via work groups and via new techniques and methods.
Awesome.
Right. Hello, I'm Uday Kalyani. I'm born and brought up in India. Completed my bachelor's in 2012, and then I worked for 5 years for automotive industry. After working for 5 years, I thought, now I have been saturated, so I need to get something added to my qualifications. So I'm here for Masters in Mechanical Engineering. And while doing Masters, initially I was really excited since I joined the university with world ranking 137. So it was quite interesting. But the day we started with the modules, so then we started to get a feeling that they are not industry oriented. Since I have worked already, so I know what the module content should have been. What I am learning here in Masters now is what I learned in Bachelor's already. So that is the problem. And the problem is I was observing it is like more specifically lecturers, they just read the slides. So we need to change this aspect, how the lecture should be delivered. And another point is timetable is not managed. So there are 11th surprises every time. If it has once or twice, that's all right. The peer review process of the university, I've seen it is there almost for all the modules, peer review. Oh my god, that's really surprising. The peer review is not foolproof, so they are not, I would say, researched that what are the flaws or loopholes where students can trick. So I would probably focus on things.
Okay, and finally Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm an MSc Marketing student, and I'm the academic rep for my course. And I'm also the postgraduate taught faculty rep for the management school, and so I'm on the academic exec. I'm also a student representative on Senate and on the now abolished University Court, and it's through these roles really that I've learned how the university works and also the problems that face students. And although I've been able to represent students at some of the highest levels in the university, the role is quite limited into what I can actually change. So for me, I've become really passionate and kind of angry about all these things, and so I'm running because I'd like to now kind of work on that full time, and continue the good fight. Except it's not a fight; it's working together and talking to people and lobbying, things like that. So yeah, that's why I'm running.
Cool. So let's crack on to the general questions. So the first one is, a continuous problem that the student union has is the lack of student engagement with this union. And what practical steps would you take to improve student engagement with their own education and with the students' union's education department? So, Charlotte, do you want to?
Yeah, sure.
Let's mix it up.
Okay, so yeah, student engagement is going to be difficult in all facets of university life. So I'm also the publicity manager for LA1 TV, and I know basically all my extracurriculars are trying to get students engaged, and I know how hard it is. One of the ways I think this can be improved is through the academic rep system. I think part of the problem with our generation really is that we've grown up not being listened to. So, you know, we're always talked down to, oh, you know, millennials are, you know, just eating savoury pears and all that kind of stuff. And every time when we break another A-level or GCSE record, we're then told, oh, it's just exams getting easier. So I think we've kind of stopped bothering with things like that, apart from, you know, a few people who are just generally get angry about things and still want to go for it, like the people here. I think generally people just don't see the point in engaging. So I think through the academic rep system, by first of all promoting it more so that people actually know the structure, so that people know who their academic reps are, because so many people, you know, rant about an issue they've got, and I say, have you talked to your academic rep? And they say, oh no, I haven't done that. And so if we could publicise it more, make people understand how they fit in, how the system works, but also, most importantly, feedback what has actually changed or how we're currently working on it, because the big thing is that change is slow. Nothing is going to change overnight, and so I also think that's something that people might not think things are changing when actually it's just happening slowly. So if we can feedback more to students, not only through the academic rep system, but if I were elected, I'd like to have kind of a more direct route. So I know at the moment they have all the VPs and the president have the kind of weekly little update on Facebook. I'd like to kind of do a more comprehensive version of that, to show exactly what I've been working on, exactly the changes that are going in place at the moment, just so that people know that things are actually happening. And hopefully, if they can see that things are happening, if we are working for them and things are changing, then they'll realise that they do actually have an important part to play.
Right, yes, to maintain transparency between...
They already are valuable,
but
you can't, unless you can see something happening, people don't believe that. So you've got to make them believe it.
I love the passion.
I'm a very passionate person.
Well, fair enough. Elaine, what about you?
For engagement, I was thinking, you know, since I've been working for marketing, so if you want to engage students, you need to interact. So with LUSU, what is missing is they are really, like, no offense, but really constrained. So they operate in that office, but I have not seen, now in last 4 or 5 months, I have not seen any LUSU candidate or someone vice president coming to talk to some student or asking someone. LUSU vice president education, I am till date not sure what is his or her objective, what is their role. For example, I am facing some issue now, since I have highlighted already few of the issues which I discussed with my colleagues. So those issues, I was still till date, when I decided to run for VP education, I was not sure that this is his or her job. So how will I approach? So that is where we are failing in marketing. And this is a type of marketing where you need to approach this for the people, so you need to talk to the people. And I think for this the easiest way is to talk to them in the language they understand. And that language is reach them with social media, WhatsApp or Facebook, the way she said, and I agree that yes, since it is if you publish scan, now this scan I don't know who is going to read, because this I had discussed with one of the scan publisher also from their team. So I'm still not sure how many newspapers they are picked and people they are reading those newspapers. You're trying to market but you're not selling. So the reason you need to find out is why you're not selling those, that's not interesting. So what you can make interesting is people should be reading more images. Now we have more content written, less images in the scan. So that is observation, and that is how we reach people. Yeah.
Cool. And Ian, what about you?
Yeah, so to be honest, I'm actually going to build on what Charlotte said. You said about the academic rep system, for example. I think it's what Hannah's done this year. It's really good, really strong. Academic reps are now getting seen, which is one of the biggest steps to actually getting that communication across. I think they're getting more. I think staff are realising that reps do know what they're talking about as well, but not to the extent that I think they should. I mean, I've read the minutes of some meetings, and I've seen the fact that some staff are like, no, I don't believe or care what the students are saying. Which to me is wrong. Like, at the end of the day, you know, what you're teaching us might be great, it might be right, but if it's not engaging us, then there's no point. So yeah, the academic rep system I think is great, but yeah, it just needs to be built upon. One idea I had was via an email system. So each department has its own emails, each set of academic reps, and then this gets then sent out to all students, and then just makes it a bit easier for students to contact the reps out of lecture time and etc. I think a big issue at the moment is with regards to postgraduate students. I think postgraduate students feel that the student union doesn't do anything for them. According to experience surveys, 16% of students, postgraduate students, were like, no, they don't support us in any way whatsoever. And I think this number, when I saw this figure, really shocked me. I mean, it is similar with the NSS survey. Undergraduates do feel the same way, but not to the same extent. And when I was talking to Lisa Lynn, the PG board chairperson, she was saying how the student union do a lot for specific people, and it's only when postgraduates come to them. I think we, as a student union, would have to go out to postgraduates instead. I know they live in a different postcode, but come on, like, they're not that far away. So yeah, they're the two main things in terms of trying to get the student union to start being on the side of the of students academically.
Yeah.
I think they're the two biggest factors.
Sophie?
Yeah, so I agree with what's been said about the rep system. I think there has been a lot done this year to improve it, and I think just making sure that people know who their reps are. So that's a really important thing, because it makes the relationship a bit more personal, and you know who you're speaking to, and making sure that feedback is coming back from departments and from the union itself, so students know how the union is working for them. And then I also think, postgraduate students as well, we need to increase engagement with them. So, like Ian said, going to them and making sure we are hearing them. So, for example, postgraduate research faculty forums.
Right.
And maybe even dealing with issues on a department-by-department basis, because I think each department, students have different experiences across the board, so I think that's important as well. But in terms of engaging students, I think campaigns are really great way of getting the wider student body involved in academic issues. So I think that would be a great way to kind of get students involved and give them the power back, so we kind of like raise the student voice to the university, and it kind of sets the agenda then for letting the university know what students want from their education.
Yeah, you guys mentioned some good points about academic rep, because I'm one, and it's tough trying to get word around that you are an academic rep. But following on that question, you guys mentioned that we need to get word out about academic rep and like engage. How could the union do that? Like, do you have ideas on how we could actually like increase the engagement? I know some of you touched base on that, but like maybe you could expand on it. Like, do anyone want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. When I say to people, "Oh, I'm PGT faculty at Fulham," they're like, "What?" So I think first of all, and that's not just because I'm saying the acronym's name. If I said postgraduate taught faculty at the management school, it still don't know. So I think there's quite a lot of, not quite jargon, but it's not clearly explained. So I think one of the ways would be to, as Ian said actually, I'd like to point that out, I think what's happened this year is great. There's definitely been improvements. We've got the hoodies now, we've got posters up around. So there's definitely improvements, but I think it's just building on that.
Yeah.
So explaining exactly how the system works quite clearly. I only know it because I'm in it, and even though I'm an engaged student generally, I wouldn't know it otherwise, because I've only seen it through.
Yeah, I'm not an academic rep, but the only way I started to learn about the academic rep system was simply by researching for this role.
Yeah.
I'm in 4th year now, and I've only just found out who my academic rep is. Not gonna lie, he's a good rep. He does a lot, but he doesn't outreach to people. I think that's another big thing as well. Giving academic reps that courage to also go to people, as much as we want people to go to them, students to go to them. Giving academic reps courage. I think as well with the meetings, they have the research forums and the education forums,
departmental meetings and stuff.
Exactly. I think that needs to be what's the word, messed around a little bit such that academic reps are chairing their meetings. You know, let them feel comfortable in front of staff.
Right. We actually have like separate meetings, like only academic reps meet with the, I mean, usually the people who chair the SDM meetings are the ones who chair the academic rep meetings, so we have only the reps are there. And so we do have that quite frequently. But you actually mentioned, I know this is going a bit like off there, but I thought because we're on this note, that we need like separate spaces to talk with academic reps. But I don't know, but I mean, I'm a rep for Media and Cultural Studies, and we have a student-only forum. And I mean, is that something that you guys are aware of? Like, you know, we only have like student-only, so the faculty members can't reach on that forum. So is that something that we could use, or what do you think about that?
Could I just say, because I wanted to build on what you said, give reps the courage to talk. But I also wanted to say we need to give them the means to talk. So at the moment we do have that student-only forum. I've tried to use it. Moodle can be great. It, you know, if lecturers use it properly. It's not really great for discussion.
Yeah.
So it's not really a great way for us to communicate with the people we represent, or for them to find out information. So I'd really like to look at a better way to communicate, because one of my problems with the rep system at the moment is I don't really have a problem communicating with the course that I represent, because we're a relatively small course, we're all on the same WhatsApp group, it's okay. My problem at the moment is as a faculty rep representing, getting in touch with all the academic reps. So I think we need a better system, whether that's through a Facebook group or something. I think I can't say definitively what would work, because it would depend on the reps and where they are. So we'd have to find that out.
Yeah, I mean, we have a Facebook group for ours, and it's an absolute like nightmare sometimes. But you know, I see what you mean. But does anyone have any other ideas? Like, what about you two about how the student union should engage with the students? Because we had social media and the whole forum thing. What about anything else you guys would like to add on?
In terms of like advertising academic reps?
Basically on how to increase engagement, like between the student union and the students.
Okay. So yeah, I think campaigning would be like a really big thing to get students more involved in their education.
Right.
I think I will add something. We are investing money in campaigning. We are investing money in other activities. But to ensure this is reaching people, how do we do that? So medium of publicity is again, we are missing there. So we have a desk, you are here, who knows? Bailrig FM, I was still not aware, to be honest, this location. So now, how do you make it happen that people there know you? Is mouth publicity. You should be approachable as a Vice President Education. If that is again a point, since I have been to Lusu many times. So I don't know where he or she is sitting, Vice President Education. So I have to come out, I have to talk to people. It is academic representative or something. Could be a good idea, but again their job is still not clear what they are doing. They are going out, they have something written academic representative, because I saw one just 3 days back in the mechanical engineering building and I don't know what his job was. There were few people with him, so I think he was supposed to take them around in the building and show them the facility and what they have in engineering. But he was there and people they were just struggling what he's going to do. So they're still not clear. So we need to understand how we are reaching. If you start communicating, start talking, people will share their problems.
Right.
But if we are not doing that, we are just sitting there and just giving the posters out. You have events once in a week or twice.
So you're
that's not going to help.
So you're saying to sort of like reevaluate how we publicise the moments?
Because
it is not reevaluate. It is just like you start talking. For example, I know you are my good friend, right? You know I am a Vice President Education. I will tell you I am doing this. Now it is again mouth to mouth. Oh, come on, we are doing this. Oh, that's great. So it has to reach that way. It is not happening. No one knows who is doing. It is within the group. We five sitting here.
Right.
I know we are doing this, but it is not reaching somewhere else. It is not a great job for me. So I am not sharing it with anyone.
Right.
So issues, they have to be solved which someone is going to value. If you are solving issues which are like adding value to 2 or 3, that is not going to help you. So then banners, no one is going to read. Facebook, WhatsApp, you keep on circulating message, people will delete. and that is what usually is happening on social media as well. So for you to now catch interest of people, you need to talk, because social media also has some constraints now, since that way of marketing is going to be limited in future.
See,
I think, yeah.
on that point of having word of mouth, we are a very big campus, so the whole word of mouth thing, how do you think that's going to be effective? Like, I mean,
It is going to be if you are yourself out on the campus. Because
so
if
are you
start
saying that the
talking-
current FTO officers don't go out and reach the students, like personally?
I have not seen. Could be, but I have not seen. In 4 months, rather I am telling you I was not going in. If you ask anyone from the postgraduate,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe rather we should run a survey. Pay them for that survey. Let's find out how many people know who is a postgraduate or vice president education currently.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get to know the percentage. Since this similar analysis I've already done for Lancaster University in my last project. So the analysis was to find out what Lancaster is failing at. Has good world ranking, has gold certification, TF gold certification for education, but no quality. So we are missing. We have certifications, we have name, world ranking, but where are we missing? So we need to find out. For that I had made a survey that time, a Google survey, and I decided that whosoever signs up will get £1. Even if you are paying £1, £2, £10, people, they need to be attracted, and most of the cases, monetary attraction is going to work.
Okay.
Similar is the case with the Lancaster website, for example. Since I was invited for full proofing if the website what they are now renewing is as per expectations or not. So they gave away I think £10 Amazon vouchers, and that was the reason it was 100% attendance for that event.
Right.
So, right? No, so
You make
this is
a
a
good
way
point,
of
yeah.
marketing. It is not, if you are circulating messages, I would have really ignored. So I'm
Right.
thinking like it could be a good point to think.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the next question. For the last couple of years, we've seen the utilization of scrutiny panels. So, are these enough to hold FTOs accountable? And what more can we do? Anybody want to?
So can you ask the question again?
So basically, for the last couple of years, we've seen the utilization of scrutiny panels. You guys know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
And are these enough to hold FTOs accountable? And what more can we do? So, do you want
I don't know what's scrutiny panels are.
anybody want to explain what scrutiny panels are?
A group of students who, I think it's mostly students that are recruited to basically scrutinise what the
Yeah.
FTOs do,
Mhm.
so they have to make reports to the panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a third
To
party
keep them in check.
organization? Is it a
As
third party or
students.
they are hired by the university?
Hired by the union.
Yeah, I think it's by the union.
Yeah.
So, anybody want to quickly touch base on that?
I mean, I think that they are a good idea because it's a way of students in this sort of a wider reach being able to voice their honest opinions about FTOs. I mean, over the years we've had some great FTOs, we've had some poor FTOs, and yeah, using scrutiny panels to sort of hold them to account. Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, you know, if I was doing something wrong, I would want to be, I would want someone to tell me, oh, I don't like the way you're doing this. Could you maybe do this? Could you do
Mhm.
this?
Yeah.
I quite like criticism. So it makes me better at what I do.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
I completely agree. I understand there's been some issues with scrutiny panels this year, not having proper meetings, things like
Mhm.
that. Also understand that the FTOs at the moment have to submit a term lead report, but this is very hidden on the Students' Union website. I think maybe this could be something that's more publicised, so that all students can quite clearly see what people are doing. As I said, if I were elected, I'd really want to give, ideally, a weekly
Yeah.
in-depth insight of what I've been doing,
Okay.
so that then people can pick me up on it and say, well, what about this thing that you said you were going to do?
Right. Yeah.
But also I believe that FTOs have to also report to the union exec,
Mhm.
what they're doing there, and also I'm on the academic exec, so I know Hannah, the current VP Education, feeds back on what she's been doing. So I think these are all good things. I understand there's problems at the moment, but hopefully we can get what's already in place back up and running and improved, and obviously make it so it's
Yeah.
more the entire student population and not just those people who happen to be on the union exec or academic exec, etc.
I agree. I think that obviously holding FTOs to account is a good thing, but I don't know, maybe the way that it's done could be improved. So I know that they have to obviously do like a termly report, but I don't know, maybe does that like come at too late a stage, if you understand what I mean? So rather than kind of working with them as they go through, it kind of comes at the end, and then obviously the time has passed and things have been done. So maybe what they could do instead is work with them on a continuous basis and kind of check up with them and see how they're doing. And I feel like then it's kind of a more, it's like more gradual rather than just being right at the end of the term. But yeah, again, feeding this information back to the wider student population, because I don't think a lot of students maybe are aware that this exists. So it is a good idea to make this, again, with the engagement thing. If we're going to be transparent with students, we need to tell them everything that's going on with how FTO is being monitored and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. So we're going to move on to manifesto specific questions, and we start with Sophie. So in your manifesto, you talked about improving the way the university interacts with postgraduate students, postgraduate research, sorry. And what improvements do you think need to be made, and what specific steps are you going to take to make those improvements?
Yeah, so I think obviously we have a faculty forum for postgrad research students, and I think engagement can be improved with that. So from the student side and the union side, make sure that we are communicating with PGR students so that they know that we are representing their voice. And I think also going out to students, getting their feedback, but also maybe looking at it like in terms of like focus groups of students from departments. So I've read the students' written submission of feedback, and there are a lot of, what was apparent to me was that there are different issues for PGR students based on which department they were in. So I think that would also be an effective way to approach it, is to look at it from a department perspective.
Right. Cool. And Charlotte, so from an anonymous LUMS LUMS rep, we've got this no, like they said this. I feel like currently I'm just a conduct for students to submit complaints and feedback to. What improvements can you bring to the rep system to help increase engagement with the rep development scheme? I think you've already answered this, but maybe you can build on it and bring skills from the scheme into the general responsibilities for being an academic rep.
Yeah, so this is part of why I'd actually like to run, really, because some of the feedback we have been getting from faculty forums is that people feel like they're just turning up, we're asking them things and then we're telling them to go away, which is not how we want it to be. Obviously, myself and Lynn, who's the undergraduate faculty rep for LUMS, we're new to this, so it's a learning curve for us as well, and I think I've learned from this, and this would play into the changes that I kind of would like to enforce. So, first of all, there's a bit of a problem at the moment because we're doing the student written submission feedback. It's really important data gathering. Basically, the student written submission, for anyone who doesn't know, is a document produced by the Students' Union every year, which gathers data about the problems that are going on, mostly academic problems, that we send to the university, and the university responds. So it's, the faculty forums are the perfect place for us to get this data for this, and it's really important. However, it does mean that the faculty forums just become us asking them questions and them replying. So it's particularly difficult at the moment. I don't know how we could improve that for next year, because sometimes collecting data can be a bit dull like that. But for faculty forums in general, I think we could kind of do some more fun activities, get people engaged. I know in our very first faculty forum, which wasn't technically a faculty forum, it was also kind of training, we did kind of little activities at the start, icebreakers, get people talking, because at the moment it's very much, you're sitting in your own department, so it's people you kind of already know. So we could kind of have all those kind of icebreaker ones, hopefully not the long ones that everyone hates. And also by kind of increasing feedback, so we do try to give feedback on things that have changed, but as I said, change is slow. So kind of giving that more interim reports so that they know that the things they've told us we're working on. And also the rep development scheme I think is really important. So there are sessions that reps can attend on things like social media, how to engage with students. I think they can be at difficult times for people. You know, if you've got a seminar, you're going to miss it, and they're not necessarily well advertised. I think trying to get people more involved in that so that they realise, you know, we value them as a person, not just as a conduit to information. We want to develop them and work with them, and also by improving the communication between the reps and the faculty reps. So I know at the moment there are plans in place for that, and I don't know what I can say and what I can't, so I won't say, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
But that is an improvement that I feel that I agree with and that I can see through, because I have that understanding of what is currently missing. So I think that all the good things that have happened this year, we've also learnt from, and there are so many little changes that we can make, and some big ones for next year, so that the academic rep family tree is a family, and everyone kind of gets to know each other rather than just turning up for a meeting once a month, being asked a bunch of questions, given pizza and sent away. And that is, I know that's how people feel at the moment, and leaving a faculty forum knowing that's how people feel makes me feel awful. I left the last faculty forum thinking, oh my god, that was terrible. So that's definitely something that hopefully for the next LUMS faculty forum, turn up, because hopefully Lynn and I will make it more fun based on the feedback we've had recently already. So there's already little changes we can make, but if I were elected, I'd want to kind of make it much better for all faculty forums, all academic reps.
Yeah. So Uday, your manifesto was quite small and vague in comparison to other manifestos. And you did mention that you're no fake promises, but why don't you take this chance to elaborate on what you actually want to do, like what your aim is if you get elected as VP of Education, what you would like to do, and how you will do it, especially in regards to a transparent assessing system, which is something you mentioned in your manifesto, and immediate actions on unfair treatments in the role of VP Education.
To be on the point, now I was thinking, since there has been many things which I have already been discussing with people, what could be the issues. So regarding the assessment, if I'm talking about fair assessment, so it is still not clear how the assessment process is at the university. So peer review process, when I was with management, project management, since my course is a sandwich course, so we had a peer review process, and there our team was asked for peer review. So for that, the process works is we are 5 members, each member rates other 4 members, and that is how it goes to the professor. For example, professor has decided out of 180 marks to be given for that particular presentation. Now, for 80, how my team member have rated me depends on that. Percentage will be deducted again from 80. But it does not work that way, since even if I worked hard, how you will get to know if I worked or not. So that is not ensured in peer review. So I think if I am a VP, my first job is to get this transparent, because it is not just my feedback, but this is the feedback from all the project management people who are there in my batch, since I spoke to them, because it could be something which is personal to me and not related to others. Then I spoke to the program director, I spoke to the management head as well. So another thing here I came across is there is a sense of strong politics. They try to suppress your thoughts. Most of the people, they are not open. I am too open. That's my problem. That I straight away express, yes, this is wrong, and it has to change. So I had posted on Facebook that I was not happy with the management side of the Lancaster, and I got a mail from program director that you have posted something which is not right. So indirectly it was a message that you change it right away. So this is somewhat a wrong atmosphere, wrong environment, which maybe since I escalated, I might face in future. And that is what happens in industries. I was hoping that at least for education it should not happen, that we should not be dealing with egos. Another complaint which was raised, I would say complaint straight away, because the representative for mechanical engineering, she raised the issue that people could not understand the language of the lecturer. He was a Chinese lecturer, so his accent was not clear to all. So yes, that was a genuine problem, because out of 60 people in the class, more than 45 they did not understand anything throughout the 5 days. It was raised. The reply from the faculty there was, people, they are not capable of they are not native English speakers, so they don't understand. But this is not what you are supposed to do. If students, they have a problem and this is what you reply, they are not going to escalate next time, because the impression you are giving is, who cares, right? So being a VP, it is like, if I am a VP, it is my job to listen all the issues, be it really silly, be it really big, and to address them. Like, just transparency is in the sense, I need not be biased, or I need not have fear that this is program director, he can do anything. So we need to remove that barrier now and get close to students. Since this university ranking or whatever certification and all, it is because of their feedback. Feedback system, and now second point is feedback system. We have feedback system slot as 7 days. So if it is more than 7 days after the module, you cannot feedback. So this is again, we are trying to be more safe. Management is trying to be more safe, that they don't get negative feedback. If I have studied a module, how do you expect me to feed you back in next 7 days? Because to get some understanding, I need to study. I need to go through exams, and those exams, they are 4 months, right? So, but I need some time so that I can feel that subject, feel that module, and then I can tell you, okay, it was worth. In next 7 days, if you are asking, you are forcing. The feedback rate is low, so they have released the feedback again. They requested, can you please go for feedback, do the online feedback. No one is interested. So that the interest, few students are not showing interest since they know nothing is going to happen. Yeah. So it is a job of VP education to ensure that if no one is, like, it has to be voice of student. VP education has to take it to management, and that is what I would do.
Okay, moving on. Ian, so in your manifesto you talk about making the transition from undergraduate level education to postgraduate easier. So what practical steps could be taken to achieve this?
No, there's several. Currently, the step from undergraduate to postgraduate here at Lancaster University is flawed in a lot of ways. For example, work-free Wednesday afternoons for books doesn't exist, which means a lot of postgraduates find it difficult having to go, oh, I've been playing rugby for 3 years, I can't play it anymore because I've now got lectures on a Wednesday afternoon. And I agree, I understand how there might not be space to put some postgraduate, especially PGT students during this time, but with the creation of the new Health Innovation Hub that's being currently built, that's said to be finished by the end of next year. So we can start to put plans in place to try and make them Wednesdays free, because at the end of the day, a postgraduate student is a student. They need time to relax, and if you rugby play, let some stress out, run into someone. I also think the fact that they get new library card numbers and email, a brand new email, some may think that's only small, but to me that's quite a big deal, because you've suddenly gone from all your communications know you as one particular email, and now you get a new email. It's almost like you're a new student, a new identity. So the work of ISS to try and keep students, try and make students to keep their original emails and original library card numbers. Some students say, well, at least we get a new picture on our card, which, yeah, I've looked at my photo and, yeah, I definitely need a new picture. There are several other things. The workload, I've had several postgraduates come to me and say, look, the workload is ridiculous. Compared to undergraduate level, the amount of hours that they end up putting in, it's almost like it's a full-paid job. as an undergraduate, yes, I do put a lot of hours in, a lot of work in. However, I do a lot of work outside of hours when I've got a bit of free time, so I've still got time to socialise, still got time just to, rewind. So, yeah, that was one of the big problems that postgraduates have. I think that's most of it on the transfer between undergraduate and postgraduate. But in terms of actually putting them plans in place, I think the student union can do more in terms of saying about the advice service we have. Postgraduates still have access to this advice service, still have access to most of the services the student union have. Some postgraduates don't know about this. So yeah, I think that's most of it on that manifesto thing, to be honest.
Awesome. So why don't we open the kind of like the floor to all of you, and do you have any questions for each other? Maybe like, because you've said a lot of things and I'm sure you must be wondering. So anyone have any questions for your other fellow candidates? Who wants to? Should we like rock, paper, scissors now?
Is this on manifesto point?
Anything really, anything you want to ask the other candidates.
I had a couple of questions because I read through some of the manifestos. I was just wondering, because Charlotte and me and you both mentioned space, and I know that's like a massive issue for students. And I was just wondering, Charlotte, firstly, how would you encourage the university to address the problem of space kind of in the short term? Because I think we could all say, like, we could all agree that maybe in the longer term it would be good for them to like build more space and more lecture theatres on campus, but in terms of the short term, how would you get them to prioritise that and make sure that students don't have to like sit on the floors of their lectures and stuff?
See, this is the issue, because there's no simple short-term solution rather.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very clear in my manifesto. I don't make false promises. I don't say we're just going to get more study space, because it doesn't work like that. VP education doesn't have the power or the resources to do that. What concerns, first of all, I just think it's appalling that people can pay so much and then end up having to sit in the aisles. I've heard it reported in all faculties, but I know that some are worse than others. What concerns me is that we're building the Health Innovation Centre, which we don't really know much about what teaching spaces there are, or whether it's just research, because remember we're a research intensive university, so if it's just academic spaces, we don't know if there are teaching spaces who would have access to them. We've also got UA 92, and so the university is kind of focused elsewhere, and also they've got the success of University of the Year, we've got rising student numbers, but nowhere to put them. Now the Lump Space programme is on hold, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. It might end up being that we just have new academic spaces, not teaching spaces. So there's no, in all these building plans that are happening, there's no real plans to expand, and yet they're bringing in more students.
Right.
So I'll admit, I don't have a short-term solution, because I'm not head of facilities or anything like that. So I can't make any promises on that, and I'm not going to apologise for that, because I'd rather lose than have a campaign based on false promises and lies. I hold my hand up. I don't have a short-term solution. What I do promise to do is to keep talking to the university about it, which sounds really boring. I'll keep talking, but I think that it would be quite easy to look at all these other things that they're doing, build on their successes, and forget about the existing issues for the current students, because it's just not right. You can't call yourself University of the Year and charge your students £9,250 or more for postgraduates, bearing that in mind.
Or international students.
Or international students, yeah. Basically, not just home or EU undergrad students. It's ridiculous amounts that we're charging for them people to have to sit in the aisles, which also discourages people from going to lectures. So if you're also doing attendance monitoring for particularly undergrads with the new system, and then saying, you've got to sit in the aisle because there's no space.
Yeah, so many times I've gone to a lecture and they've gone, right, sit on the floor, and you can't see the board for a start.
We're not in primary school, you shouldn't have to sit on the floor apart from anything.
Is it, I don't know, like, I've never had to face it because, the courses I do is, like, there are not many people, like, who fill up the, like, I know like law and stuff, like it's always like 400, 300 people.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
huge.
exaggerating, but is it because people like, sometimes I see this happen in mine where we sit in one place and then like 3 gaps and then like someone and people just don't want to sit next to each other? Is it always jam packed?
No, it's always packed.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't think people.
right.
I mean, I know people don't like to sit next to each other, but I think they'd rather sit next to each other than on the floor. Is
Right.
what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gathering from.
I
But
mean-
also, I think there's some sorry,
No,
I'll finish.
okay, go.
There's also a problem where some rooms, some lectures and seminars, they've got too much space. So, for example, I had a lecture for the past 5 weeks where we were only using half the lecture theatre. Now, I don't know if that point on that day there was someone else who needed it, but I think there's kind of a problem there.
Prioritising and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's also kind of based on faculties. So I'm in the management school, I was in a management school lecture theatre. Could it be that actually a classroom FAS,
Mhm.
you know, where I've heard the most reports of this happening,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, can't they have the management school lecture theatre? If
Well,
this,
I
shouldn't
mean-
we all be working
Well,
together?
they
rather
usually
than stu-
use it, but I'm not sure. I
I
think
know
it's
there's
it's a very
some
Because I'm in
of
FST,
movements.
studying
Complex
physics,
thing,
and I'm
yeah.
allowed. I've had lectures in George Fox. I've had lectures actually in management school, especially
Good.
this year. And I think they do try and get the numbers right, but
Yeah,
I think the system just needs tweaking, and it's just really trying to get push the universities
yeah,
room booking systems. Push it. I think it's only like a team of a few people, which is
yeah.
a change,
It's a
but
massive job.
but it's
So
huge.
I
Yeah.
feel for those people. I'm not getting a.
I know, and when
whole
they get room
timetable.
booking in for like 3 people to use the first lecture,
Yeah.
you can't give it them. So yeah, like I think in the short term, it is really just pushing the university to start putting these plans in. There's
Yeah.
no point in like saying, right, let's just do it. You do have to plan. It's unfortunate, but you have to.
Mhm.
I do think there are still spaces that aren't used on campus.
Mhm.
Especially this year, I was in Grisdale today just doing work. They have a big room for about 40 people, I reckon, could study comfortably in 2 spaces. There's 3 of us, and the library's packed. So I think, trying to encourage JCRs to say, look, we have all the space, come and use it.
Yeah.
Encourage people to work in bars. County bars, theatre group students love it in there.
Yeah.
You see them
absolutely.
in the middle sofas all the
Yeah.
time, and it's because they love it there. It's sociable, it's comfy. I still work in there. There's plug sockets all around,
Yeah.
but you don't get people working there. It's always confused me. I think it's literally because the library is this big open space. It's
Right.
advertised, oh look at us, we've got millions of pounds library.
Yeah. But
So
they
yeah,
don't realise that we've got college spaces.
yeah, and I also
Yeah.
think the learning zone can be worked upon to increase the
Yeah.
size. Them sofas are ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think people study on those, to be fair. I always
They
see
don't.
people
I've seen-
eating on
Well,
them.
that's the
Eating
problem.
or
There's
sleeping.
no good place in central campus where people can just
Yeah.
sit and eat.
Yeah,
Or
well, this is-
especially for off-campus
Yeah.
students who come on
Mhm.
campus, they've got an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is where the whole JCR thing again
Exactly.
pushed it. I
Oh.
mean, Well,
I'm
to be
like
fair-
shifting uncomfortably because I'm on the
to be fair,
JCR.
County just have a microwave. That's not your fault.
We're working on it.
But Bowland have 2 ovens. Sorry, 1 oven and 2 microwaves. A big fridge freezer. They've got that space, and I think as well, a lot of people don't realise that even though I'm in County, I can go and use Grisdale spaces.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know I might get looks at if I go into, I don't know, some places like Lonsdale, because County Lonsdale. But apart from, and perfectly, the whole college system works that anyone can use any college space.
Mhm.
So advertising that, work with the JCRs and even the PG board as well, saying that, tell them postgraduates that they can go and use the JCR rooms, I think is also a big
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
Does that
Raised a
answer your
really great
question?
question there. Any other questions? What about anyone else? Like, if you have any other questions for...
Most of them have been answered, to be honest, today.
Yeah, we've just like scraped everything.
I had. Was that you trying to finish?
Oh, no,
Okay,
go
cool.
ahead, please. No. I think we've got time for one more.
Okay, cool. So, Ian, I had a couple of questions for you.
Go on, I like the word
That's
couple.
okay.
Go
Well,
for it.
two main ones. First of all, in your manifesto, you talk about off-campus study space.
Yes.
First of all, I was wondering how you would go about that, because
Okay. In terms of, just to be a bit more specific.
well, kind of what is your plan for that?
Right,
So
okay.
do you think just build a new building or use existing space, things like that?
Existing space, yeah.
So which existing space? And I have a second question if I can.
Yeah, go
come back to
ahead.
that.
Yeah, so off-campus study space, it came to me one night at 2 a.m. in the library. I was sitting there thinking, right, report's done, I can go home. And then I got down to the underpass and said 7 a.m. I was like, oh. So I had to walk home in the end, and it's not a nice walk. It was either I'll spend £9 on a taxi, or I think that might be the rate at that time.
It depends on where it is too, I
Yeah.
think. But yeah.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah.
And car shares could have been a thing, but I don't think anyone's really around at 2 a.m. in the morning. So it hit me. I was like, right, why am I actually working on campus? I could have just been working at home, and I thought I've got Edge Roam and I've got access to loads of facilities here.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, why can't I try and find a space to work off campus? So one day I just had a walk around the city, and I went to the Stories, and I don't know if you're aware, but there's a postgraduate study space there, which is used quite frequently. It's a lovely space actually. I'm, as an undergraduate, not allowed to use that, so I thought, right, let's carry on. So I carried on walking. I've got to what's now actually campus in the city, and I went in there and I spoke to them, and they were like, yeah, so the university funded that to try and get a sort of more community feel for the university, because there's a bit of a stigma for students in Lancaster.
What's stigma?
So, for example, one big example actually, the B&Q is getting changed into an Aldi. Well, at least that was the most recent one I heard. And on Lancaster past and present, a lot of locals were going crazy, saying, "Oh, this is students' fault. It's students' fault. I've got to go to Carnforth, to Wicks now to get my balsa wood." So yeah, there's quite a big stigma for students. I think in general, but like for example, a lot of them say, we're taking their jobs is another big one. So trying to get that community feel into the city, to try and release that sort of stress that, trying to relieve that sort of stigma we have within the city. Anyway, I asked them, and they said, the university funded it. So to try and use a space like that, and there's a couple. I think Poundland's closing down, so that's going to be open. There are loads of closed shops in and around the city.
Yeah.
Using something like that, for example, City Block 4 has been built. They've got a huge, massive building at the bottom, which I think would be a great space. You've got students on top. It's a really big area for students. Got a little part where Penny Street is the KFC next door as well. So quick stop off. So yeah, there are spaces available. There's loads of new student blocks being built, so there is always going to be space for it to be in place.
I probably should ask this later, but the city library, is that not a good space?
I was just about to ask that as well.
No, City Library is a really good spot. I've worked there a few times. Yeah. I just think for the demand we currently have, it's not big enough. And also the fact that, I don't know if you've been in there, the Wi-Fi is rubbish.
So if the university worked with the library maybe?
Yeah, that's a good idea actually.
Because obviously funding is an issue.
Funding's a big issue,
Even City Block, it's a private company, it's not, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's not university owned, so it's the funding issue.
Yeah, the funding issue is a big issue. I am saying try, get the study space put in. So start making them plans, get the plans in ready. Looking for spaces. Campus in the city has actually done really well, so I'm hoping to use the sort of the means that they've done, even if it's a temporary thing, for when it comes to stressful times like this, where you've got exam seasons, dissertation seasons up on us now. So even if it's a temporary thing, just to try and relieve the stress of the library, and also so you don't have to get to 2 a.m. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Does?
Yeah.
Do you have a
very briefly
very quickly
about the postgraduate transition?
Yeah.
You say postgraduates say they've got a heavy workload, which they do, as one.
Yeah.
And that it becomes kind of like a full-time job for them. How would you change that, given that postgraduate study is supposed to be hard? If I wish it weren't, and if it is full-time, we are told, this is like a full-time job. What can you realistically do to change that?
To change it?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, having this work-free Wednesday put back in place. Well, not put back in place, to be put in place for postgraduate students, to give them that sort of space, that time where they can do, if they want to, they can do work, they can do their own individual work, and if not, they can go and play book sports, you could go to societies. I know a lot of societies meet up on a Wednesday. But in terms of like, so you're asking basically how would I believe that
Yeah.
work time basically?
And also, I'd love a work-free Wednesday,
Mhm.
but how would that be realistic given the teaching space issue that we've already discussed?
Yeah, so the teaching space issue is something that sort of came across to me after the manifesto went live. I understood there was an issue with the space, and some postgraduates, especially PGT, which is so I'm pretty sure PGR don't have lectures as such.
It can depend, not usually.
Yeah,
as
not usually
much.
though. So especially PGT students then, trying to find that space will be difficult. And I think with the Health Innovation Hub, I can't say that, look, I'm going to completely like revolutionise your timetable overnight. You know, as you said, it does take a long time. So with this Health Innovation Hub, I don't know how public it's gone yet, but I'm pretty sure there's new colleges being built, which therefore hopefully we use more study spaces for more teaching spaces.
But that's on a long term, I think. Like a very long.
That is a very
yeah.
long. I think a figure I got was 2022.
2022. Yeah, around those times. Like, I can't confirm
22,
anything,
yeah.
but we don't know all the information either.
Obviously, the only problem is it's going to bring from what I've heard 4,000 students, which is a lot. I mean, it's postgraduate size. So yeah, it will bring a lot of students, and trying to work with timetable and work with basically all the discussion we've gone through today about room sizes. To try and make Wednesdays as free as possible, even if it's knocking it back from 5 to 1, even if it's just a few hours, just so they've got a bit of breathing space.
Love that. When I
Awesome.
first heard that the undergrads had that, I was like,
Yeah.
that explains why there's loads of things on a Wednesday.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that PG didn't have it, so I was like surprised when he
I
said.
was really surprised by that. Well, I spoke to a postgraduate student. She's been through the whole process, undergraduate, PGT, PGR, and she had to quit like 2 clubs because of it.
I love Wednesdays because of the fact that I get to go home. But thank you so much, guys, and
thank you.
I think you guys have hustings on Monday,
6
and
p.m.
all the way on the other side of the world at
Barcode
Cartmel.
Farm, yeah.
It's what
not
I
that
love
far.
Graduate
Barcode.
College in Lonsdale count.
You know-
Don't forget Cartmel.
I said
Oh,
that.
did you say Cartmel?
Listen.
But thank you so much for joining us, and I think you can listen to more about what they have to say about their campaigns and why they want to run at the hustings on Monday at Cartmel, Barker Farmhouse Farm.
I think it's also being live streamed as well. If I remember
Yes.
correctly.
It is on LA1 TV.
Woo woo! So 6 p.m. Be there, and thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you
Can
for
I just
joining us, and
also
well
say,
done.
Like, as for us people are more than welcome to come and speak to us,
Yes.
especially during this campaign starts 10 a.m. tomorrow. Come speak to us. We don't
Please do.
bite.
Yeah. 10 a.m. They're all free.
We're all free.
We're allowed to
You're
tell
gonna
you
be sick
why
of
to
us
vote
after
then.
10 a.m.
But thank you so much, and good luck, and I hope you're successful.
Thank
You
you.
know,
Yes, we are.
I wish
One
all
of us.
could
All
be
of us.
successful.
one of us.
With that combined team.
But yeah, so let's wrap it up there.